Hi everyone, welcome to Nollywho. Nollywho is a Clout Africa production that focuses on the film and television industry in Africa as well as the contributions of Africans in the diaspora to narratives and film and television. With me on this episode is Frank Ugo. Hi Frank.
Hi, Edwin.
Please could you introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Frank. I am a cultural writer. Really enjoys watching Nollywood productions, and yeah, I'm so excited to be here on Nollywood, just discussing all the relevant stuff.
Thank you, Frank. Frank is here with us as part of a mini series we're doing, which is a retrospective on the year 2020 in film and television with a particular focus on Nollywood. This episode, we are going to be discussing Nollywood's new obsession with nostalgia. It is such a fascinating thing because in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, Nollywood was primarily focused on looking forward, on creating new ideas, technology, the future. And we're seeing a return to vintage,
Mm.
retro, 70s, 80s, 90s. We've seen this in music, we've seen this in film, we've seen this in television. So, what are the big um, nostalgic moments of 2020 for you in Nollywood?
Okay, so I think the biggest ones would probably be like the remakes and the sequels. I don't know if they're sequels. I think
They're
they're more
sequels. They're
remakes.
sequels.
Oh yeah, okay. So remakes of all of the stuff by I think
Yeah, play the play
plays
group.
plays big on it now. So you have Rattlesnake and then you have Neck Had a Pretty Serpent. Those ones have
Yes.
a 2020 date.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have Glamour
By the way, for the
Girls.
people who don't know, uh, Play is a multimedia company that operates out of Nigeria. They have nightclubs, they have film production outfits,
Yeah.
which everything is run by Charles Okbaleke.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah, so they have. I know this two have like a 2020 date. I think Glamour Girls has a 2021 date. The
yes,
year before, that's 2019, they did Living in Bondage,
bondage.
which sort of,
Yes, breaking free, living
yeah,
bondage, breaking free.
did all of the. Oh, yeah, it's true because that's the new one. Yeah, so it sort of opened the gates to like all of this remakes and sequels now that they have in the works.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that what differentiates what Charles Okpaleke is doing with Play is that this is the first time we're seeing a Nollywood film production company put a significant amount of money
Mm,
behind remaking with some level of accuracy to the
mm,
original film
yeah,
a vintage Nollywood idea. We've seen people take elements
in
from
the
vintage
past,
Nollywood
a
films,
lot.
but it's always a small element here or an homage there or a reference there. We've not seen anyone put this amount of detail
Yeah,
into replicating the core elements of the old films.
yeah, I agree.
Personally, I think that Breaking Free was their best effort so far at replicating the spirit of the original film. They get that spirit of the original film, which is the themes of poverty and wealth and social class and inequality. From what I've heard, Rattlesnake doesn't have the same kind of desperation
Mm-hmm.
that sold the original film to its audiences because Ahuna in Rattlesnake was desperate. Like there was a certain level of desperation
Yeah,
that allowed the audience to empathize with
with
him
him.
and empathize with what he's doing. And from what I'm hearing, because I haven't seen Rattlesnake yet,
Yeah.
I'm still one of those people who is scared to go to the cinemas
Okay,
because
fair
I'm
enough.
not ready to like I can't get
Coronavirus.
COVID because of a film
Coronavirus.
that I would not be able to defend anywhere. So I'm not doing that.
Yeah, fair
But from
enough.
what I've heard, people liked Rattlesnake, but they just feel that it doesn't capture the urgency of the original film or it doesn't justify the actions of the character in a way that the audience can, suspend their belief and suspend their disbelief actually and empathize with the characters.
And they're not wrong actually. So I saw Rattlesnake about a week, 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
And after I saw it, I wrote a review,
Yeah.
and the title basically says, "Oh, Rattlesnake shines, but
Hmm.
not enough."
Yeah.
I'm one of these people who, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I tend to um, look at people's work based on what they have done before. It was why I felt some type of way about Sugar Rush, because I expected more from,
Kadikasu.
yeah, and I expected more from even Jade Osiberu. I saw Living in Bondage, Breaking Free, and I expected a lot more from Rattlesnake. And it's not a terrible film,
Yeah.
but there's a lot more that needed to have been done. There were just like lapses here and there, and so in my head I registered it as though Breaking Free was a sequel. This is a
Yes.
remake. So I'm actually curious to see what Neka the Pretty Serpent looks like, and then I can now maybe spin a theory that says, oh, they're probably better at sequels than they are at remakes, because that's going to be a remake as well.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see how it goes at the end of the day.
So nostalgia has also kind of popped up
Mm-hmm.
in music videos. Music
Mm.
videos have become a huge thing where people are referencing the 80s and the 90s. And do you think that these shorter film mediums are doing a better job of capturing the essence of that time than full length film
I
features?
don't think so. I mean, so at the end of the day, um, I feel like, with this other platforms, or other mediums, they're basically nitpicking, what appeals to them. And I mean, it's for the most looks like some sort of aesthetic value.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so at the end of the day, it's just though, I pick what works for me, and then you can't even just properly represent that in like your little amount of time that you have.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I feel like they can't even touch like the
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Full
it's
length
just
features.
nah, no, not
I
at
do I
all.
do think that a challenge that um, these people are having with remakes, these filmmakers, these directors, is that we don't remember Rattlesnake or Living in
Mm-hmm.
Bondage or Sakobi the Pretty
Yeah.
Serpent with as much accuracy as we think. We remember how those projects
Films
made us
went,
feel,
yeah.
but we don't remember how they were. And
It doesn't
it
help.
is it is almost impossible to match somebody's vision of a
Mm,
thing.
mm.
And so I feel that so far these filmmakers have struggled to separate these remakes from the original projects while using homage to promote. They have not done a good
Don't
enough
yeah,
job
I
of
actually I
separating
actually agree with you. I
both.
actually agree with you,
And so we
because
are forced to do the comparisons and it just never works out.
which is unfortunate really, because when you look at it, you know it's like pitting, and it's a comparison that maybe if I was the filmmaker I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like inevitable in this point,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day I look at this and I look at this. When Living in Bondage came out, I know that I went through watching it on YouTube
Yeah.
with the terrible quality of, just because I wanted to, be up to date.
Hmm.
We had like the cassettes in my house while I
Yeah.
was growing up, so I had like an idea of what it was. It was gist that used to like circulate around the circle. Oh, well, it went around the circles then, so I knew what it was about. But there were a couple of things I needed to just watch too, and pretty much same thing happened with Rattlesnake. I mean, I couldn't get past like all of it, but I sort of got like a feel into
Hmm. A
it.
sense of what the
Yeah,
film
yeah,
was
what it
about.
was all about. And then, do I think it was like accurately? No, not really. But then again, it could even like make a case for them. Do you think that?
It should.
Yes, because at the in as much as they have gotten the rights to make this,
Hmm.
isn't there room for like artistic expression, especially as they are made in different times and they sort of made to different audiences as well. So that could actually be like their claim to defying and then making things that are entirely different.
Hmm.
But looking at it too, I would say, so it's a sort of like a two-way. There's like the pros, and then the cons, really, at the end of the day.
I think a huge pro for me is that this obsession with nostalgia has helped to revive the careers of a good number of older Nollywood actors and actresses.
Okay.
I think the biggest winner in this whole thing has been Shola
Oh
Shobowale.
my God.
Shola Shobowale has, it's like an injection of life
Hook
in
it.
her career.
She's in everything. Didn't I
She's
see
in
her in Men's
everything,
Club?
yes. And then I think that also, I think between her and Shafi Bello,
Oh yes.
those two women have really capitalized on this obsession with nostalgia to reinvent their careers while paying homage to the original roles that got them. Because for half a decade, all we remembered of Shola
Tony
Shobowale was the
Tomato.
fact that she's Toying Tomato.
Yeah,
We
basically.
didn't even remember the show. We didn't
Heck,
remember
even
all
Tony
of that.
Tomato wasn't even like
Yeah.
so like it was just like something you knew.
Hmm.
You had no clips, you had no memes. I mean, they're
Yeah.
there, but you didn't pay attention to them until she became Eniola Salame. And you're like,
Yeah.
boom, you want to see
You
that.
want to see more. So it's like, because it was really, in fact, before, I think that's what's interesting about this whole thing, is that before we went full throttle on nostalgia and remakes, they were already mining nostalgia in films like The Wedding Party
Mm-hmm.
and Wedding Party 2, because Shola Shobwali, that's where she really, you know, reminded us of what a talent she is.
Yeah.
Of course, Richard Mofedamijo got like a rebrand with that, but it doesn't always work, because there was this film with Richard Mofedamijo and I think two other older actors where they were supposed to be playboys. I can't
Oh
remember
my
the name
God.
of
Three
that.
wise men or
Three Wise Men,
something.
yes.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to play off that nostalgia that these young, handsome heartthrobs are now older
Mm-hmm.
daddies. I think Zach Oji was in it. Zach Oji and
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, like three of them.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. It didn't work because there was no connection to, first of all, there was no film that three of them had acted in as younger men that
Yeah.
we could say, okay, this is a
This
follow up
is
to.
yeah.
There was no, the characters they played, there was no transition from, oh, this is who they were before to who they are now. So it didn't work. But it has worked for Shola Shobowale, it has worked for Shafi Bello. To some extent, I can't really say that Joke Silva or and Olu Jacobs have not been acting. They've consistently had work,
Yeah.
but it also allowed them to reinvent themselves in this new era. That nostalgia is also part of the reason why in Citation we have Ibuku and Woshika take on a role.
Yeah.
Because now we want to see older people,
Actual.
we want to be reminded of the people in our childhood and our youth. So I think that nostalgia has been very helpful
It
in that
has.
way of allowing older actors in an industry that, for I would say from 2002 to 2016, there seemed to be no space for old people in contemporary film,
Yeah.
unless it was a village epic, or there was no space for them to have complex lives, to explore complex ideas, just nothing like that. There were no films, there were no projects, there were no roles, and to have that comeback because of nostalgia. I think, in fact, I think the biggest coup we're going to have in 2020 is the fact that the original NECA from the original film is
Is
in the
in
remake.
yeah, I
And she
saw
has not
that.
been in films for 15, 20 years.
Yo, she's and I think it's another like sort of like a worthy nod to like the play guys, because they I mean in most cases it doesn't really work for them, but they make it meant like in as much as though
They
they
make an
tried,
effort.
yeah, they make an effort to actually bring these people back. I remember in Rattlesnake I saw a long list. I saw Norbert Young, I saw
Mhm.
Gloria Nozier, I saw there was a long list of
Mhm.
tons of actors you remember from way back, and you have never. Norbert Young was actually the villain, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, it wasn't like probably like who I would cast, but
Yeah.
it was great to see him in that. In Living in Bondage, Breaking Free, they had the original guys, Kenneth Okonkwo, who you probably haven't never like you
Yeah.
haven't seen in a very long time, Kanaya, and all of the likes. So yeah, you just keep, and I'm sure like you like for as much projects as they keep getting their hands on, it
Yeah.
would still be like You had Chiwetalago, you had
Hmm.
Chinyere Wilfred in
Yeah.
Rattlesnake. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah.
It's interesting that all this nostalgia is happening in film, but we cannot discuss it without discussing the people who actually made it cool to look to the past and draw inspiration from the past, which is the young content creators
Mm.
and memes and skits
Yeah,
creators who were the people to first mine all of this
that gold
content.
mine,
They
yeah.
mined the content, gave it contemporary value, and reintroduced it to a new audience. At this point, it would be we would be remiss to not mention Nolly Babes.
Mm-hmm.
Nolly Babes are a duo of sisters who created these accounts that essentially took a lot of the misogynistic and patriarchal portrayals of women in classic Nollywood, that's circa 94 to 2016,
Yeah.
and then reinvents them by changing the narrative through changing text and um, essentially coupling the images in different
With
ways.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's Nolly Babes, and of course, before Nolly Babes, there were the people of Tumblr, who were the
Hmm.
first people to take Nollywood
That
classic, and for them it wasn't classic because it was when
just
yeah,
what
it
yeah.
was just Nollywood. They took Nollywood and they put it online, and a lot of the memes they created survived till today. So these early pioneers were the first people to say there's value in this content,
Mm-hmm.
and the content can be repurposed and it can be
For
restructured
better use.
to meet a new audience. And so they are the pioneers of the nostalgia trend that we're seeing now. And people like Charles Okbaleke and all the other filmmakers and Sholo
Doubling up on
Shobwale
it.
and even Aki and Popo. Aki and Popo, I think, have gained disproportionate
Yo.
value from these pioneers
Yeah.
who made them sexy again, who made them attractive to young people again.
Yeah, so I like you have actually like said it all. Like you won't go maybe a day or week without finding one of those pop-up videos where
Hmm.
like people actually use it in promotion of
Yeah.
their new songs. Now there's this one that literally goes with like every song you see. Websites are using it
Hmm.
for content creation.
Hmm.
They have prided themselves on it, and it's just really really good to see how like it's actually very like interesting to note how these things have even like taking shape in our own lives.
Yeah.
Whenever I want to indicate support for like, okay, you know what, you maybe co-signing with what I'm saying,
Hmm.
I find myself using that. There's a particular meme of two women holding their hands and expressing,
Yeah.
yeah, there's this. So these things are just by default. You already know, oh, this is what I'm looking for. This is, yeah, and then in some type of way, some of this I remember watching Akinokwa maybe like last weekend,
Hmm.
and just going back to watch because I had seen one of these clips
Yeah.
somewhere, and so it's creating like an urgency, a sort of like a reawakening, because you now go now and you even see when you go to the clips for this shows or this movies on YouTube,
Hmm.
you find very interesting comments. So who's here from 2020? Who's watching this
Yeah.
right now? And all of that. Yeah, very interesting to see.
It's interesting that you mentioned YouTube because YouTube is both a bane to
Mm.
Nollywood and it's also a very cool for advancement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, most of the memes we get from Tumblr and from Nolly Babes are a function of somebody uploading a VCD they had from 2002 onto YouTube.
Yeah.
And a lot of those videos are monetized now. They're making money for third, fourth, and fifth party
Yeah.
elements without the original actors and actresses making money from it. But having those things online have allowed people like Akin, Ostaheme,
Chinedu
and Chinedu
Kedeze.
Kedieze to have second and third careers
Yeah.
where they're getting endorsements and they're getting a lot of secondary value from having this content online. And so as we have this discussion about nostalgia, uh, a lot of people are asking the question of are these content creators and these content users are they good or are they bad for Nollywood?
So I feel like like we have an answer to the question. They're both
Hmm.
mostly bad. Yeah, mostly bad because it's. I would like to think that it comes off as it's actually piracy. It's
Hmm.
not your content. You didn't
Yeah.
work on it. Yeah. So that's in that regard, they're clearly bad. I make a mental note most times when I use YouTube as my personal player. I make a mental note to ensure that if I'm playing a song off YouTube, I'm playing it from the artist's
Yeah.
page. Um, and looking at that, you would actually see that the people who are behind this original productions probably don't even have any intention of even putting it on YouTube.
Hmm.
So in some type of way, just for new audiences and for nostalgia, and then
Hmm.
also for like stages of career boom, it's sort of good for these people. Aki probably has endorsements now, or some brand using
Yeah, I know that
exclusively
Ostai
using.
Heme got like a star endorsement last
See,
year,
yeah. So like
even though he's not really done any
he's not
projects
done
in a
anything in a
couple of
very long
years.
time. Yeah, but he's getting money off all of that. So yeah, he would tell you it's good because he's eating from it ultimately. But I feel like in a bigger perspective, it then talks to filmmakers from that era to
Yeah.
sort of do better with their content because
Hmm.
if this is first and foremost, I feel like they can even file for I don't know how YouTube does that, but
Copyright,
yeah,
yeah.
copyright, yeah, and then they can take it down and then upload their own
But why
version.
do they even need to take it down? Because I know that YouTube has a function now
Okay,
that it will just divert the
whatever to you.
monetized content to
Yeah,
you.
so that
So
works.
you can
Leave it
steal my
there.
content. I don't have a problem with
Just
that.
wait for posterity. Like people want to. I mean, I know at some point I had mentioned though, that we had like the cassettes in the house, but I
Yeah.
don't know that we still have that today. And I know that every now and then I need a laugh from Akinokwa. I need to have some good moments from watching police officer. One of the funny names that they may have, or one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
tune to YouTube to $1. One. Yeah. Those were really really good ones then.
So it begs the question because apart from the fact that YouTube is supposedly like a net negative
Mm-hmm.
for Nollywood, there is also the reality that that's where the audience is. The
Yeah.
diasporan audience is on
Oh
YouTube,
God. Oh
and a
God.
lot of especially I think one of the pioneers in this way is Yoruba
Oh,
Nollywood.
it's
Yoruba
them.
Nollywood realized very quickly.
So in short, they're movies that don't even make the cinema.
Yes,
They're just from whatever production it is on down to
YouTube.
YouTube, and that was
Like they
it.
realized that there's an audience there, a
Mm-hmm.
paying audience, or at least an audience that can be monetized,
Monetized. Yeah.
and they have moved completely to YouTube, and they're making their money off YouTube, and it kind of begs the question that this has been going on for at least 10 years, 15 years. At what point are the old Nollywood directors and producers and filmmakers and film companies going
Mm-hmm.
to decide that, okay, this digital real estate, I need a piece of it. Like, I need a proper official piece of the digital real estate.
I think we're very traditional in that regard, and I feel like it's what will kill us really because you have very good versions of these things in your house. It's literally easy to
Hmm.
if you
You can even
can't even do
remaster because a
yeah,
lot of people are remastering films for 20th
it's
year.
so easy. Well, I don't know, but I feel like it's not very difficult to
They can
do.
remaster to HD now.
So that's really not a problem. I feel like it also doesn't help because like some of these things are done in hush hush, and we don't really have. I'll give you an instance. I'm actually very curious to know how much a film that um probably does like a that lands from production to YouTube. I would be curious to know how much it makes
Hmm.
if it gets to like maybe a certain amount of streams or a certain
Yeah.
amount of views. How does that go alongside? And I feel like it's one of those things where we're very hush hush about
Hmm.
data. We don't want to talk. What you call it? Numbers we don't even want to reveal to, because I feel like it's been going on for a while, so it definitely means that there's some money in it or some profit in it to be made. Yeah. So because we're very traditional too, we tend to do like the whole status quo. I have my film library in my house, and yeah, you
Mhm.
can, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, people are digital these days. So if you can't give the people what they're looking for, they would find alternative ways to go about it, and it would be to your sort of detriment, as the case
Okay.
is.
So one of the questions that this nostalgia trend is forcing all of us to ask ourselves. Actually, two questions. First question is, um, are we going to make the same mistakes with documentation that the people before us made? Because nostalgia is only possible because there is a significant remove
Mm-hmm.
from the original content that we can now create these visual images that we are now. But if this, for example, a film like
Mm.
Home Alone has been always been accessible from the year it was released.
Mm-hmm.
So there really is no distance between the people who watched it as children and today,
Mm-hmm.
because somehow Home Alone has always been in the advertising cycle. So we are constantly watching it every year. We're constantly reminded. We know every scene. We know everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's no nostalgia there because it's as present today
Yeah.
as it was the year it was made. So in what ways is Nollywood going to change to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes that allows nostalgia even be a thing, number one. And number two, um, the world we're in today, especially for filmmakers, is so different from the world in which a lot of these film projects were made. Things that we accept now are very different from things that they accepted then. And I'm very curious as to how filmmakers are going to make sense of that while still holding on to the essence of the original projects that they are remaking or making sequels for in present day.
Okay, so with regards like the first one, I feel like, if it's anything, we're making some sort of conscious effort towards that. Streaming platforms have a decent lineup of some films that you would want to see now. I don't know that we are there yet because
Hmm.
there's still. I feel like so like maybe a while ago, cinema releases they used to be like a very good determinant of what films make it to the streaming
Hmm.
platforms. And so, if a film was in the cinema maybe in January 2019, I would expect that maybe January 2020 max, it's on a streaming platform for me to be able to access. However, there are films that have gone like more than a year and you
Hmm.
can't find them on any streaming platform.
Hmm.
So I feel like there's still like some people who are very very, I don't know, um um sort of exclusive with and I refuse to believe that especially because of the times we're in, I refuse to believe that they are not making it, which then brings in like the whole independent buyers and then
Hmm.
stuff like that. Yeah, so I feel like are there conscious efforts? Yes, there are films from this October 1st, that's from, I don't know, 2010, 2011 ish on Netflix. Green, White, Green. There's like a decent list of films on Netflix. There's some on Amazon. So yeah, you would find like some
Hmm.
of these films. Maybe a little more intentionality to ensuring that, there's like we don't want to do this thing where I don't. So I'll give you a good example is Girlfriends on Netflix. Because we have it came back and there's a boom
Yeah.
now, but I'm not sure that we've seen Girlfriends in like a very long time on
Yeah.
any platform yet. So we don't want to wait that long to be able to consume
Hmm.
this thing. So it's just like a little bit of intentionality, really, and I think that's what sort of needs to be done, really, to ensure that we're archiving these things in the right places. People can go there to find it. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Frank, for talking about nostalgia with me and the things that Nollywood has achieved in the last year and the things they need to achieve in 2021. This is Nollywho, which is a production of Clout Africa, where we discuss the film and television industry on the continent and the contributions of Africans in the diaspora to film and television narratives. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we will see you next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Clout. Reach out.